Well, good afternoon. It's a great day in the Ann Arbor Public Schools as we have the wonderful opportunity today to connect with our team at Eberwhite Elementary. Just so grateful that these teachers and Principal Harris have agreed to join us today and to show us a little bit about what goes on in their school during this time of building closure and distance learning. Surely, our buildings are closed because of the COVID crisis, but learning continues every day. And I'm so proud of our teachers and the connections and engagement in learning, supportive families that continues every day during this time. We're delighted to join and to welcome today Principal Bill Harris and these wonderful teachers. So, Mr. Harris, how about we take a moment to introduce everyone, and then we'll get started on our discussion. Does that sound okay?
That sounds wonderful, yes. So we've got several teachers with us today. We've got in 5th grade, Miss Kelsey Lafferty. In 3rd grade, Miss Dawn Blair. In kindergarten, Miss Cathy Glei. And one of our special education teachers, Miss Jessica Lucke.
We thought we might start just hearing a little bit about Eberwhite. Mr. Harris, what would you share about Eberwhite Elementary School and the Eberwhite community and how things are going during this really unprecedented building closure? But I know you guys are continuing to do really extraordinary work with children.
Yeah, absolutely. So Eberwhite School is known for having a really strong sense of community and togetherness and tradition. And I would say initially there was a good deal of fear about the physical separation and maybe a grieving or a loss about those end-of-year traditions that we weren't going to be able to experience. But over the time of this closure, really what's been highlighted is a sense of resiliency and a rallying for supporting one another. It's truly been a mutual exchange. So it's certainly been the schools reaching out with technology and food and basic need distribution, but it's also been the parents as well, and the Eberwhite helping hands, parents helping one another, making deliveries themselves, helping with childcare and parenting tips during these challenging times. Both of these, or all of these folks, have really shown appreciation for one another. The staff putting together video messages for our families and our children, and also the students and the families reaching out with pictures and videos and countless small messages of support and appreciation for the wonderful work that our teachers and staff are doing for the children.
You're right, Mr. Harris. We're hearing so much. If we turn on the news each day, we hear, just really scary things happening with the pandemic. And so I thought maybe we'd start out with some bright news and look at a little brighter note. What has gone well so far during this COVID closure?
I think for me, the best thing so far has been our morning meetings and reaching out to see my students' face. And they're excited to participate, still in the morning meeting, still a part of the social emotional learning that everybody's still connecting, and a part just to check in with each other to make sure everyone is okay and offer some encouraging words. And we still do some fun activities, even though we virtually. I think the students really look forward to it. I know I look forward to it.
I think one of the things that I am most grateful for is, one, like all of the technology that's been available and the trainings that the district has put out so that we can be equipped to do do some distance learning and some teaching. So that's been great. Also, the TLN network has been a great tool for when you miss out on those hallway conversations with your colleagues. It's great to have people across the district that you can share resources with and engage in just some grade level questions and, some things that sharing resources. So it's been good in that way to stay connected with some of our teaching peers.
A lot of my students, school is hard in itself, but then now we're going virtual and this becomes even more cumbersome, especially when I have the little ones. I have K through 2. And so you're still just learning the basics of what is school. And then we have disabilities playing a role in stuff as well. So I think the cool part is like working with parents and realizing, we're so much embedded in our families' lives right now. I'm in their living rooms. I'm in their bathrooms. I'm in their bedrooms right now. Wherever the child wants to work is where I'm working with them. And I think, that's been something that's been so great is the flexibility of parents and the eagerness and willingness to try and be vulnerable, because we're really embedded in their lives right now. And, parents being willing to say, I need help, or this isn't enough, or I need less. Those conversations are really raw and hard. And the connections that I've made with my parents are remarkable.
To do what the district did and to do what the teachers did in such short order, to go from traditional classrooms into this distance learning, and to do it with not only a professional attitude about it, which I would certainly expect from this group of teachers at Eberwhite, but I almost want to say like an enthusiasm. There was a depth of responsibility. This is what we need to do to meet the needs of our students and families. It's the right thing to do. So to see how they've rallied to support one another, and I mean support one another socially and emotionally, as well as academically with teaching and learning has, as I said at the outset, it's truly been inspiring.
Tell us a little bit about those challenges and how you've managed.
Not seeing them face to face, my kindergartners, and hearing their voices, but in experiencing all the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis together. So one way that I have been experiencing life with them, but from a distance, has been I sent them a letter, and it was a little poem, and I sent them a little flat Mrs. Glei, and it has been so fun. I've gone to a farm where they put me on a goat. I've been in a flower pot where they put me into some flowers. And I'm getting videos and stories and emails from families with all kinds of stories of where Mrs. Glei has been. And it's been a way for us to stay connected and giving me some talking points. So when I call them on the telephone, I can say, hey, remember when we went to the farm? And, they can tell me more about my experience on the farm. And so that's been, one way of staying connected.
I'm very similar to Cathy in the ways of one of the hardest things as a K through second grade special ed self-contained teacher is that engagement piece. So a lot of the times, none of my students can sit at a computer and just do it. They're not at that skill level just yet, so it requires a lot of adult prompting and support. And even with that, like in the typical classroom, every about 4 to 10 minutes, we're changing activities. Well, now that's not exactly happening because I can't just get up and move. So now I have kids who are becoming more resilient of like trying to figure out how to do this virtual, how to not just like slam the computer lid down, or different things along those lines. Some of the ways I've overcome this is, by bringing fun things to my sessions. We play a lot of games. I brought farm animals. My chicken came a couple weeks ago to my session, and all of a sudden, all eyes were on me that day.
My biggest challenge is that I'm such an extrovert, and I rely on those like elbow bumps, high fives, hugs, handshakes, toe taps each day to get through with my students. We've got a greeting sheet on the wall where they choose the greeting, and I'm not getting that anymore, where I'm not getting those hugs at the end of the day, see you tomorrow. And that's what I'm really missing. So luckily, seeing them every day on the meet has been getting me through it, and calling my colleagues each morning. The biggest challenge for my students is that as fifth graders, they have all of these things to look forward to at the end of the year. They had fifth grade camp and the variety show and graduation, their end of the year assembly, and those were kind of taken away from them. So through this, I created a virtual fifth grade camp that we shared with our students, and I shared with other fifth grade colleagues across the district. So, because I know a lot of fifth graders were expecting to go to camp. We're working right now on our fifth grade variety or talent show happening next week. It's just recorded on YouTube instead. And then we're working on our graduation.
My students miss, or I miss, being that one-on-one connection when I'm teaching a lesson and they see it. But if I find a student that cannot or not understanding it, I miss that one-on-one time of teaching them right there at the moment. Let's stop, let's go back and over it. So I'll find out what happens, and what helps a lot is the virtual office hours that I have twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
I will send and ask those students, hey, can you meet me on the office hours? And we have a private one-on-one Google Meet so we can walk through the assignment. And they like that. They like that one-on-one attention.
You've highlighted, each of you have already highlighted this, so it says, it speaks to the strength of your team. But we are all thinking about the social emotional well-being of our students. And I really appreciate you're also highlighting the social emotional well-being of our adults.
One of the things that we do every day is we have different social stories. And that's really critical for our younger students and our students with disabilities to understand what the feeling they're feeling is and that this feeling is okay. I think, as we get older, we're often told that it's not okay to show our feelings, and that gets passed on to our kids. And so, starting to tell our kids that it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be upset.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Jessica. Social emotional, you're all working on it.
I would say even beyond the student level, we've made social emotional well-being for everybody the top priority. We made it clear at the beginning that we're not just working from home. We are living in a pandemic, trying to work from home. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves in order to take care of one another, or to take care of our students, I should say. So practicing not only self-care, but self-kindness, doing check-ins on the social emotional well-being of our staff every week, talking about it at the beginning of our staff meetings. And at any given point in time, a third of the staff is wrestling with some challenging emotions and hardships. And who that third is might change every week. But as Jessica mentioned, just as those feelings and emotions are valid for children, they're also valid for the adults. And sometimes they can take a toll on caregivers as well.
I really appreciate Bill's surveys that he sends out every Friday. Like he was mentioning, he checks in with us. One weekend, I got a call from Bill, and he just said, I looked at your survey results, and, I just wanted to check in with you how you were doing. So it's really nice to show that he cares, because I know he's wrestling as a parent, as a, administrator, as an educator as well, but he's, checking in on us, and we're checking in on our students. So it's just how great of an administrator he is, and goes above and beyond. Like Dawn and I were saying earlier, our morning meeting is a great time to check in. Our social workers put together several mindfulness activities that we've done during morning meeting. I've sent them the links as well, that they can practice that during the day, and just showing that you care. Like, we've all given examples of how we care with these kids, where we've sent them letters, we've called them on the phone, we've told them funny stories about ourselves, or I show my dog every day to them. They bring, their pets, and just, these connections that they never would have gotten at school. They've always asked to see my dog and bring him up to school, but now they get to see Ollie every day.
This closure put us all in an unexpected time and space, and most of what we all knew as routine has just kind of gone out the window. And so just our district's focus on social emotional well-being for our families and our students and our staff has given space for families to choose to refocus on what's important. And I have seen that come through in the calls, calling them on the phone and talking with the parents, talking with the students. The reading conferences, I alluded to earlier, a lot of times at the end of the conference, parents are in tears, Mrs. Glei, what can I do? I just want to do my best. And, I think that, just that time to be able to reassure them that, we're all in this together, and we're doing as best as we can, and giving them some coaching has been beneficial for me and for them and my students. And so, yeah, just those are just some of the ways that, I feel like I've been able to stay connected and keep the social emotional first things first, what's most important, and that is taking care of ourselves. And so, and my colleagues alluded to Mr. Harris, and, Bill is an amazing person all the way around. And the check-ins that he sends out on Fridays have led our staff to think of creative ways of how we can spend time together supporting each other and connecting with each other. And so I think that's really cool that, the feedback that's being given through those check-ins are going to just develop professional relationships even deeper in a time when you would think that they would kind of, splinter up a bit. So that's been cool.
I really appreciate you all taking the time to be in this place with me today. It's a really big deal. And I appreciate how authentic you are as individuals and how real you are as a team. And I feel like this has been a time where team has been redefined in ways that, some of us have been in education a long time, but we've not been through something quite like this, none of us. And as we pivot now, at the 1st of June to really set our sights on 2021, I just want to encourage you all that those habits and the focus that will continue to serve us well, whether we're in face-to-face, which we all hope for, or whether we're in some blended or modified environment, or whether we have to remain distant at some parts of next year. This is a foundation that you've built right here. And it's built on not just what you do as teachers. What you do is extraordinary, no doubt. But it's also built on who you are. Oh, I love those shirts, you guys. Team Eberwhite.